Muse Music Store and Mahaska County Conservation Board presents Eveland Access Summerfest Music by the River 2024, June 1st from noon to 10 p.m., featuring 8 musical artists with live music, activities like bingo, sand volleyball, and cornhole, food, and much, much more. It's a free event at the Eveland Access Campgrounds at 2890 Galveston Avenue, Oskaloosa. Bring a friend and have a lot of fun at the Eveland Access Summerfest 2024 Music by the River, June 1st from noon to 10 at the Eveland Access Campgrounds.
Welcome to this edition of More Getting You Asked For podcast. May 13th. We are a little bit early this week. It's a Monday night, but just with Trevor's schedule and my schedule this week, I'm going to be gone a couple days in Muscatine for a golf tournament. So it just works better tonight. Cleveland and the Celtics are playing. I actually was watching some of that, but it looked like Celtics were kind of take that. So I actually turned on the Tom Brady roast. Have you watched any of that, Trevor?
Yeah, but I heard it's really good. So I've seen clips of it. I've heard people talking about it, and I do plan to watch it probably this week. But I've heard it's really good though.
Yeah, it's good. I'm 1 hour and 9 minutes in. It's almost 3 hours long. So I'm obviously not through very many. Nikki Glazier was good. Jeff Ross is good. They're professional roasters. They should be good. Randy Moss is pretty good. Drew Bledsoe was, obviously those two aren't comedians. So is every joke hit exactly? No. But, kind of the jokes they made about Tom Brady and themselves, it was good. Kevin Hart was a host, and I did. I've liked it so far. I hear coming up there's some that maybe aren't as good, but Kim Kardashian, I don't know why she did it or what the reasoning for her on there was, but she's not a professional comedian, so to say she's going to get up there and every joke's going to land perfectly it's just not true. I guess your expectations have to be a little bit realistic, I think, on some of those.
Yeah, I heard the athletes did a really good job. Obviously, as you said, not every joke lands, but no, I'm looking forward to watching. I hear Drew Bledsoe was really good, like you said. Yep. Yeah, and Kim Kardashian, I'm sure she got paid a nice amount of money just to show up. And if her jokes are good, whatever. But I'm sure they all got a nice paycheck. Hers was probably a little bit more than others.
Oh, absolutely. We're about 2 minutes in, and that's 2 minutes longer than it probably should have taken. But the story of the night is Lisa Bluder, Hawkeye coach, retiring. Now, a couple things with that. She is 62 or 63 years old, so it's not. I don't think this is a huge surprise. Timing is a little bit curious, but I think this has been in the works. I'm going to say the decision was not made today. It was not made yesterday. It probably wasn't even made last week. It just took a little time for this to happen because they went so quickly to hiring Jan Jansen. This was not done today, or I would even say this week. What do you think, Trev?
Let's wonder if this decision was made, if she let the school know before the season started, this is going to be my last year. And she probably gave her recommendation to Jan. But I wouldn't be surprised by this. It's kind of weird. Halfway through the season or 3/4 through the way, I was talking about this is the end of an era. I was really talking about the players, but should have seen this coming given her age and the NIL, the transfer portal, all this stuff that we've talked about. Nick Saban's talked about it. Not that she's on the same level of accomplishments, but age-wise, in my opinion, she's going out on top in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about the stress that Caitlin Clark has been under the past couple of years, rightfully so. But we never talked about the stress or pressure that Lisa Bluder had been under. And maybe she thought, I've had enough of this. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they had talks before the season started that this was just going to be the plan.
Yeah, I think if it was done before the season, I do think it would have happened quicker. I mean, we're a little bit over a month out from when they lost in the championship game. So I'm going to say it wasn't, before the season. I mean, obviously I don't know.
Maybe they had discussions about possibilities. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to have, transition plans at all times. And then I also think some of it is she might just, even if it wasn't 100% her time to go, maybe she thought it was time for Jan Jensen to get that job. And in doing it at this time and not, April 7th, a week after, where there's several coaching searches going on and they could go do a coaching search, doing it at this time, much like when Bob Stoops retired at Oklahoma, essentially you have to just promote from within. And obviously, I do think Jan Jensen deserves this job, has earned this job. This isn't a situation where Jan Jensen's not ready for this. She's very much ready. But it would be hard to go hire a Jenny Baranczyk. I mean, would be the next name, or I think the first name you'd call after Jan Jensen, to see if she would want to come back to Iowa and be the head coach. But that just puts her and Oklahoma in a really tough spot as well if you go get her at this time. And then there's just a trickle-down effect, because Oklahoma goes and hires somebody. And, this is Beth Goetz's first hire, which again makes me think this was a little bit planned, because she wants to make these hires. We talked about this when she got hired. More than likely in the next few years, she's going to have to make several of these hires. This is her first one, and she made it very smooth transition, very much just passing of the torch to Jan Jensen. And you have to do this because I think she has the job and has earned the job, but all the Hawkeye players now have 30 days to transfer. They are free game. So if you don't think some team is calling Hannah Stolke tonight and offering her some money, you're all crazy. And Kylie Feuerbach and McCabe and Sydney Falter and every one of those players is getting calls to see if you're interested in coming somewhere else, because they are free agents now.
I hope with Jan getting the job, hopefully the players that are already on the team will be more likely to stay because they know her and like her, I would hope.
Yep.
The real thing I wonder about is the Addison deal in 2025. Is she still going to come? And some of the other big recruits, I wouldn't be surprised if they back out now. They probably had to know a little bit in the back of their mind that Lisa Bluder was getting up there in age. But with Jan being the next coach, maybe Caitlin Clark will vouch for her with some of the recruits, especially that Addison coming in 25. Yep. So you're right, though. Hannah Stolke and Sydney Falter will be, there will be some teams out there that will probably offer them some money. I hope they stay. I'd hate to see either one of them leave or both. So that's going to be the interesting thing, as you said, over the next 30 days.
Yeah, you may not hear anything for 15 days, and then you think everything's hunky dory, and then all of a sudden it switches. And that's why Jan Jensen kept the job as well. And I think Caitlin Clark has already came out and said, no brainer, it had to go to her. She deserves it. Vote of confidence. I mean, and I 100% agree. It was her job, and I've said it 3 times already now in the last 3 minutes. But, and it, just me personally with her, she's from Kimballton, Iowa, which is not very far from where I grew up. We played Elkhorn, Kimballton, and everything. She's quite a bit older than I am, so I didn't watch her play or anything. But, just being from small town Iowa, small town West Central Iowa, and I think she has been with Lisa Bluder for 33 years as a player and a coach, which is just amazing. And she's had opportunities. Might have been able to stay at Drake and been the head coach. I have no idea, when they left 24 years ago. I don't know if that was, or she just wanted to go to Iowa with Lisa Bluder. But she's had opportunities before, and who was I? Oh, I was listening to Chris Williams and Andrew Downs, kind of a instant reaction to this on Iowa Everywhere. And Andrew Downs was like, he kind of thought of her as Phil Parker. Obviously had opportunities, could have left, but, maybe doesn't want to be the face of the program, just wants to coach basketball. Just like Phil Parker just wants to coach. He doesn't want to go do the CEO stuff, the shake hands, meet with donors. Not that you don't do any of that. You do as an assistant, but you don't have to go to every iClub event. There's just lots of things that head coaches have to do that assistants that don't have anything to do with coaching the actual sport.
Yeah, she stuck with Bluder for a long time, as you mentioned. She probably had opportunities over the years, whatever they might have been, high school, smaller colleges, or even D1. So I'm glad it's her. I think it should be a smooth transition. I hope they give her a full 3 or 4 years, outside of anything crazy going on. There's going to be a drop off this year. And I hope this coming season, if the record isn't what we want it to be, I hope fans don't just all of a sudden go, well, we need a new coach. Like we're losing one of the best players of all time. We have to expect a drop off. There needs to be a little bit of a grace period there.
Right. And that's the only issue with Jan Jensen taking this job is, and I think, and you touched on this earlier, Trev, I think we do lose sight of how much pressure Lisa Bluder was under and felt. Those, she's actually older than all these girls as moms now, almost grandma age to these girls. And I guarantee, she tried to do the best she could to deflect everything she could and take it herself in these last 2 or 3 years because now these girls are starting to get paid, but she's like, I'm the face of the program. I'm a professional. I've done this for 30 years. These girls are 19, 20, 21 years old. Just as any parent / grandparent or anybody that just cares about people in their lives want to protect them and make it as easy as you can for them. And I think it got to her. I mean, I think you could see it, especially at the end of this year where she was wore out. And then also she is going out on top. She's made the championship game 2 years in a row, losing the player of the century for women's basketball, not just Iowa women's basketball, but women's basketball in general. And there really is nowhere to go but down. And she's 63 years old and said, I'm going to retire.
Yeah, like I said, we probably should have seen this coming. I didn't. Yeah. It should have been on my radar. We've watched sports long enough. When someone gets that age, especially after a run like this that you just mentioned, the past 2 years specifically, she probably had to be under a lot of pressure that she didn't let anybody know about or let anybody see because she's been doing it for forever, essentially. Right. So she did a great job. Just thankful for everything she's done for the Iowa Hawkeyes, especially the last 2 years. It was a fun ride. We talked about that the past few months or so. And like I said, should have seen this coming, but wasn't even on my radar.
I heard this today too, when Keith Murphy was doing his, little blurb on it on the news. She's the all-time Big Ten winningest coach. That's unbelievable. I mean, coaches just don't stay 24 years, which is how you can do that. But that was just a stat that I hadn't heard of or thought of, that has the most wins in Big Ten history.
Yeah, she was at Iowa forever. Kirk's been at Iowa forever. That's a whole nother subject that we could say for another time, but I wrote down she was a 3-time Big Ten Coach of the Year, 5-time Big Ten tournament champions. Mm-hmm. And as you said, obviously been to back-to-back national title games the past 2 seasons. And yeah, I think everyone in the state of Iowa would say she's going out on top. People outside the state of Iowa would say, well, she lost 2 in a row. I mean, again, we're not UConn or Tennessee or South Carolina, so she's going out on top. And good for her. I hope the transition is smooth to Jan. I think it will be. But again, for Jan, I hope she's given a little bit of a grace period because the first year I don't know what to expect. I'm excited to see Stolke and Sydney Falter and those girls do their own thing. But when you lose, like you said, an all-time player like that, I don't know what the drop off's going to be, but there will be a drop off.